Okay, now on to part two. So, like I was saying, my daughter was born on December 27th, and she was born via cesarean at 3:25 in the afternoon. And I literally got to see her for maybe 30 seconds. And I don't remember it because I was under so much anesthesia because it was an emergency C-section, and I was in an excruciating amount of pain because it was almost like a failure to descend. So she was just like stuck in my birth canal. So they basically just kind of knocked me out. And so luckily my mom had the video camera there. So I will now forever in eternity have my daughter and I first meeting, which was amazing. I remember laying there, or I remember slash saw it on the video, laying there, and she's in the isolette and she's got, you know, tubes and wires everywhere. And I just looked at her and it's like the whole world just went away. This little person that had been growing inside of you, and I got to personally know her from being on bed rest, and having the opportunity to talk with her, and like she was a feisty one in utero. In all of her ultrasounds, she had her arm up like this. She never wanted to be photographed. Her caption on all of her pictures are like no pictures. And she never wanted anyone to get a picture of her face. She was feisty, like really feisty. I think she got that from me, possibly. Um, but she would, like, you could see on the ultrasound, she would be like punching. She was a hilarious kid. Um, so anyway, I got to see her then, and then they whisked her away to the Arkansas Children's Hospital, which is an amazing facility. If I would never wish it on my worst enemy, but if you are ever anyone who's ever watching who has a pregnancy and there might be potentially something wrong, make sure that you research the children's hospital that's closest to you, because the people at Arkansas Children's Hospital were absolutely amazing. So, like I said, I was in the hospital for 3 days, and she was at Arkansas Children's, and I was at UAMS, which is the University of Arkansas. It's like a medical hospital, school hospital type thing. And so I didn't get to see her for 3 days, and I almost didn't get to see her for four because I had a little bit of a temperature. But hell or high water was not going to stop me from leaving the hospital that day. And I left and went down the road, and I got to see her, and I just marveled at this little bitty person. She was 6 pounds, 6 ounces, 21 and a half inches long when she was born. And so she was so gorgeous. She had this thick head of black curly hair, and she was super long, and she's just gorgeous. I instantly fell in love, regardless of the tubes and everything else. So like I said in the last video, they wanted to check and see. I believe it was I can't remember what it's called. It's a valve that's opened in utero, and about 3 days after birth, it closes up. And hers wasn't closing properly, so it was an indication that there definitely was an issue with her heart, which we already knew because I was getting ultrasounds every week, and they were measuring her heart. And literally, when the ultrasound technician or the doctor would put the probe over my stomach, the first thing you would see is her heart. It took up the majority of her chest cavity. So I mean, it was obvious that there was something going on. So we started talking about surgeries. The first surgery was just to kind of like trim down the heart and see if she could just operate with one. Well, no, the first one was just trimming down the heart and seeing what was what. That didn't go very well. So on her due date, she had, I believe, her second surgery. It might have been her first surgery. I don't have all the dates down anymore. It's like it's been almost 5 years, which is crazy. Um, but I know that she did have a surgery on her due date. She wasn't technically early. She was born on the 27th, but that was as long as my doctors wanted to keep her inside because of her heart condition. They didn't want to have something go wrong. It was better. It was safer for her to be outside than it was to be in. So she had her second surgery was for them to close off one side, and she would just try to operate using one side of her heart, the good side of her heart. That didn't go well either. And the third procedure was an experimental procedure that was used by her cardiac pediatrician surgeon. And it was going to be experimental surgery to undo what he had did in the second surgery and do some reworking and some other stuff. The really great success out of that surgery was that it did actually end up working, and I hear that they're now currently using that in babies that have been diagnosed with Epstein. So Imani is living on. Um, the experimental surgery that they did on her worked, and now it is helping to bless other families. So that is the silver lining. Unfortunately, when she came out of surgery, I knew that there was something wrong. My baby, even though she was brand spanking new, she was 18 days old when she went into the surgery. And that morning, when they got ready to wheel her away from me, she was on some pretty heavy drugs that are heavy for adults. And she had her eyes open and she did not want to go to sleep. She wanted to coo and blow bubbles, and that was her favorite thing to do. I would wipe the bubbles off and she would blow more bubbles, and she would smile, and she was doing all these things that older babies would do. It's amazing. Those are the best memories that I have of her. And that morning she just did not want to go to sleep, and I think that she was afraid to say goodbye. Um, because when she came out of the surgery, no signs of her, the baby that I knew, were there. Um, they had drained a lot of the fluid off of her because she had swole up really big because of the three surgeries, and because she was on all kinds of machines. She was on the ECMO machine, which is a heart and lung machine. So it was almost similar to like a science experiment. She had to be really elevated so that they could keep, I think it was like gravity going with the tubes. It was scary. And at the time I was 20, about to be 21. So that's really heavy for a 20-year-old. So she had that last surgery, and we found out that she had a brain bleed, and we knew that that was a possible complication. It would either be a brain bleed or an infection of the blood, and they kept checking, and she ended up going into cardiac arrest late evening on the 14th of January. She went into cardiac arrest twice, and they said that if she went a third time that they would have to use the paddles, because at that point they were just doing the manual compressions because her chest was open anyway. There was just like a thin piece of plastic that would just like blocked out the germs. But they were having to do chest compressions, and they said that they would have to do the electric paddles. And at that point I signed a DNR if that had to come to that, because it was cruel and unusual for a poor little baby to have to go through that. Luckily, it never came to that. She didn't go into cardiac arrest again. They did some more head CT scans and found that the brain bleed was pretty extensive. So she was, even if she lived, she was going to be on a vent, and she was basically going to be a vegetable. And the neurologist pulled me to the side and said, there comes a point in a child's care when, I hate to have to say this, but we're doing more to your baby than for your baby. And the time has come for you to make a decision as to if you want to continue to do things to her, and knowing that she will never be a normal baby, and there's still a really good chance that she may not even live. At the time, I prayed. I really tried to figure out what was the best thing, and I didn't want her to suffer, which is what she was doing. She was suffering at that point. So we made the decision to take her off the medications and off the vent and let her go home to be at peace. Um, It was the first time that I ever got to hold her, because she would be in the beds and she had all the tubes, and so I just got to touch her. It was almost like being at a petting zoo, or you can say, 2 fingers, that's it. You can just lightly, you can't get them excited. So I never got to cry when I was around her. I never got to hold her. And that was the one chance that I got to hold her, and it was the most amazing feeling in the world to get to hold that baby that you have been carrying. And at the same time, it was the thing that broke my heart and broke me as a person, um, to watch someone that you love just pass away. Like I said, the hospital staff was amazing. They let me hold her as long as I wanted to. After they officially called time of death, They asked us to leave the room. They got her all cleaned up. They took away all of the machines that we had, all the machines that were hooked up to her. They took them completely out of the room. And it was just like being in a normal hospital room. And I got to hold her. They put her in this beautiful gown, and they covered up her head because they had shaved her beautiful hair off, and with this cap on her, and wrapped her up in her receiving blanket. And I just got to hold her and kiss her and tell her how much I loved her and how much I was gonna miss her. And you know, that event changed my life. I afterwards was angry at pregnant women. I was angry at God. I was angry at family members. I was angry at bad mothers. But after that, after a lot of therapy, after being in a really deep, dark place for a really long time, I've emerged to the woman that I am today. I made a lot of promises to my daughter before she passed away, and it has been my goal to fulfill them. I became a social worker. I promised her I was going to go to school, I was going to finish, I was going to get more than one degree, and I was going to live on and open up a foundation in her name and spread the word and help other people that are in her situation, that were in our situation. And that's exactly what I intend to do. I'm so proud of who I am today, and it's only because of my daughter. Her strength is what flows through my blood. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here today. If it wasn't for the promises I made to her, I wouldn't be here today. If it wasn't for the amazing strength of my mom that was there to hold my hand, let me cry, and when I was in the deep, dark pits of life, um, I just wouldn't be here. So, I come to you guys smiling, but know that it has not been an easy road. And I know that it's still continuing to not be easy with the issues that we have. But every time that I look at my daughter's pictures, I just smile, and I know that she would want me to have more children, and she would want for her mom to be happy. And I'm going to see if I can post our song. YouTube may block the whole thing, but maybe I'll do a separate video. Our favorite song was Lovely Day. And so when I'm having a bad day or a rough day, my daughter sends it. Her and the universe get together and they send me Lovely Day, and it just tells me that everything is going to be all right. And when Krista and I decided that we were going to get pregnant, Lovely Day came on the very next day, and I knew that she approved. And I just said thank you. So yeah, that is my backstory. That's a little bit about me. I'm so much more complex than that, but all the YouTube time in the world wouldn't be able to cover my life. But I wanted to let you guys know where I came from so that you can know where I'm going. So thanks so much for listening, and I will check in with you guys in a few days. Just on an update as General TTC, and thanks for all your love and support and providing me a safe place to share. Many blessings. Good night.